Welcome to Chrysalis Invictus. This is your messages from Fox reading. So the fox is a figure of cunning, of intelligence, quick wit. But the fox is also a sort of elusive character and a very magical and mystical character. So anyone who has crossed paths with a fox knows that it is a very unusual experience, and where you cross a fox or where you come in contact with a fox can be really significant to the story and to the omen. These messages from animals readings, I don't know if I said that right, but the readings are intended to work with your own lived experience. So perhaps you cross paths with a fox and were sort of wondering what the significance was. You don't have to have, but if you have, this could shed some light on that. As always, I would encourage you to use your intuition with this reading to get the best messages that are meant for you. As you can see, I have 3 piles laid out. We have from the Animal Totem Tarot, the Magician Fox. I love this card. And from I think it's Animal Spirit Wisdom Oracle, Fox Shadow Work. There are no shadows without light. And then from the Celtic Oracle, this is the Gaelic word for fox. And if you think I'm going to say that word on camera, not a chance. So use your intuition to select one of the piles, and I will meet you there. Pile number 1, tuning into your intuitive messages, channeled messages from Fox. So I'm seeing that this has a lot to do with navigation. This has a lot to do with finding your way through tight spaces. Tight spaces could be any number of things. But it feels like there's a situation in your life that has become very narrow, and it feels like you have very few moves left at this time. Not a lot of space to budge or maneuver. And this is about navigating those spaces and then finding a way into a greater space or a place of movement and freedom and possibility. And I'm hearing the word climax. I know that's been coming up a lot in the daily readings, so if you're someone that watches the daily readings, maybe that's a message that's like a current that's running through into this reading. There's something about a blue dome that's significant to someone here. Okay, so let's start to pull some tarot cards. We are working with the Wildwood Tarot. What are messages for pile number 1 from Fox? Okay, we have the 4 of Stones, Endurance. And this was reversed. 5 of Stones. 5 of Stones. Okay, so I can see that you have made choices or you have made a choice to move away from a community or people or a situation that didn't align with your values. And in doing so, you basically put yourself out in the cold, and you put yourself into a situation that was extremely difficult. So instead of letting it, sort of crumble in the long term, like you probably could have stayed in that situation and it would have disintegrated or become more and more toxic over time. You removed yourself actually quite suddenly and impulsively made the decision to go out on your own. And I can tell that there have been times where it's just caught in your throat, this gripping, it's this lump in your throat where you've wondered, have I made the right choice? Have I gone in the right direction? Because you've been living in these tight spaces, and while I do feel like there's an awareness here of the tools that you have, there's doubt. There's been some doubts. And there's been some so a lot of personal growth and development has happened, but because it's happened in this sort of isolated space and it's felt like an endurance trial, it's felt like a slog, like it's almost like those things are in the background. There's skills you developed without noticing, simply because you threw yourself into this position where you had to develop them. So maybe you haven't even had the opportunity to recognize the skills that you've developed from this. Not to mention the endurance, I keep wanting to say a word, stamina. You've done something alone and you've proven something to yourself, but I don't know that you quite know that you've proven it to yourself just yet. Some of you have, some of you haven't. It feels like the clock has worked backwards. This is another thing that's coming in. So it feels like the clock has worked backwards. Like whatever you are doing, it doesn't feel like you've moved forward. It feels like you've gone back in time. So this could be, a situation where you started another career, or you've started learning something later in life. It doesn't have to be, but this is a message for someone that, it's almost like you took what looks like 10 steps back. But what I feel here with the Magician and with this overall energy of this reading from Fox is that you feel like you took 10 steps back, but once you're released from this tight space, it's going to be like 20 steps forward. Like you will be propelled forward and be in just a whole other space. It's not even something that's relatable to what there was before. And here I see you the mirror. There's this energy of defeat here. Like you really are thin. Maybe your energy has become thin from this situation. And that feeling from the throat has now spread down to the belly. And so there's this sort of indigestion, maybe anxiety that comes from it, and there's definitely been ego death. There's definitely been an ego death, or there is an ego death coming, depending on where you are in this timeline. So maybe this is something that is yet to come, this message from Fox, or perhaps you're somewhere on this timeline within the mirror. You cannot see anything that is not a reflection of what has already been. And this is part of why you cannot see the progress you've made, and why you may feel you're stuck in this cave and in this tight space. But there's this message that's coming in that even when you're in the clearing, you will still feel like you're back in the cave. And so this is where the time and everything, and this is the other thing that I didn't say in the intro, but that is very significant to the energy of the fox, is that it's a trickster energy. It's a psychopomp energy. It's an energy that travels back and forth between worlds. And so it brings things through that we cannot understand because they're still encoded in the imagery and the energies of the other worlds. And vice versa, it takes energies back in. And then those energies go to play in our subconscious, and they work away at our dreams, and then they come back to us, and then we can see things. So that's what I'm feeling here, is this energy passing between this very physical, very real material world situation to this very spiritual place and this inner vision. This is so much the third eye. And it looks like she's holding a moon in her hands. Like it's something so close you can taste it. Let's see if we can find out more about this situation. Okay, so we have the Great Bear. No way. Queen of Stones. Alright, this happens sometimes in these readings where there will be a co-animal or a companion animal to the overarching animal guide. And for you, it's bear. And with the Great Bear, what we have here is the choice that you made here to set yourself apart. And this to me really feels like a value difference. So, you know, sometimes we go along in our lives and we have different people in our lives that have values that don't align with our own, and we just kind of swallow it and we kind of take it, and we don't really maybe take action on it. This is a situation where you said, no, like this, your values, and maybe you didn't even say that, but it was that it fundamentally shook you to be aligned with something. And so you made the choice to remove yourself from that group of people or from that institution. And what that ended up doing is it ended up collapsing the past, present, and future. and created this moment of, or this time where you in the present were healing both the past and rewriting the future. And this is where those skills were developed through this process. And there's been difficulty, I feel, in this situation, or will be difficulty. And again, I'm speaking of this in past, present, because the timelines are shifting due to the nature of a general reading. But there were difficulties, or there have been difficulties with patience. This is one of the lessons that comes from this transition and from this collapsing of time. Where there was such a need for you to surrender, or there is such a need for you to surrender to divine timing and right alignment, that even though you made this choice, maybe at the time, or maybe in that time, you will feel like, I have removed myself from this situation, so now what I was waiting for will arrive. But there's still this other process that needs to unfold, this integration process. And the bear here is guarding the portal to the underworld. So this is the portal to the shadows. So this is a period of going into the shadows, going into the cave. It's crazy how reflective the imagery is in these cards with the cave here. The bear was guarding this cave, and the bear here in this situation, the Queen of Stones, she represents not only, an earth energy is patient and allows time to unfold, but the Queen of Stones is really an independent energy, a nurturing, independent energy. And here is standing at the mouth of a cave, overlooking a landscape. So she has this perspective from on high, where here we have the bear guarding the underworld, the realm of the past. But also there's the constellation here. So there's this that's the future energy. That's the perspective from on high. A teacher bearing fruits of the earth. Teacher bearing fruits of the earth. And there's the Four of Stones, protection. And this is sort of a cave, a man-made cave, like standing stones. It's a man-made protective and sacred space, which is what I feel you made for yourself here. And you can't see your growth, or you can't see where you're at on this timeline, because you're only ever shown reflections. This is interesting. What else? What other messages can we get here to clarify? Let's round out the Five of Stones and the Great Bear. Yeah, it's funny, when this was pulled, I was thinking of the Seer. Every single card has been exactly the card I've been thinking of. Lots of magic coming from Fox today. But the Seer energy. And here there's this crossover into the emotions. So the lower half is able to navigate these emotions while the upper holds this sort of reflective truth. And here we have the Seer. So this process of this process will help you to develop your skills, your abilities to trust your inward vision. This has been a process of coming into your psychic and intuitive gifts. And so much of that is guided by how you feel in your throat. So pay attention to your throat when you are in any situation, really. There's going to be a lot of information there. Okay, so I'm channeling a message right now. I'm just going to say it. The climate of change is unbroken. The mask has unfolded and folded again. And you see that there is truth in both the mask and the unmask equally. The climate of change is unbroken. And there is far, far away a notion of better stability, of better times, of a clock that winds itself. Time and illusion become tools rather than things to fight against, in this case, and here. And we swear we are not broken. We have only had to go mad to find the truth. I am a collection of my values. Yeah, so there's a lot here about exploring what your values are, what violates them, and there's a really righteous rage, a deep earth rumbling that comes up when this is violated. And I'm hearing that it's sage. It's sage. That you're not wrong for feeling that way, that Yes, that it is part of this protection. It protects this sacred new life and this sacred seed that you carry. And this sacred seed that you carry is protective of others. It shows others themselves in this mirroring energy. And so you leap into the meadow before you know it. You still think you're in the cave, but you're in the meadow because you're still seeing yourself through the reflection of others, through the projection of others. You have a mirrored face. So many people can see themselves reflected in you in some way, or you may hear a lot that you have a familiar face, or that someone knows someone that looks like you, but it could be very shifty, like there's some people where people say, like, you look like this one celebrity, and it's always that one celebrity, but like this is, I was going to say Jodie Foster. I don't know why. But it could be vastly different people. Like, there could be that shifty energy there. And the Ace of Vessels, the waters of life. And with this grounded in water, in emotion, through your reflection and your guardianship and your seership and your gifts, you teach people how to love themselves. You show them how to fill their cup, but not explicitly by teaching. It's in this reflective energy. There's something key to this being your magic and your gift and part of your tools. And so what you were seeing that you left, or that you will leave, depending on where you are, has to do with this, that you were reflecting things that you didn't want to see, that you didn't want to be, that you didn't want to perpetuate. If something is perpetuating around you, you can shift that energy by shifting your face. The way you show up, or the way you treat others. The presence here is very powerful. I'm just hearing I've been cold for a week. And now I buy my socks at an outlet center. What? Oh, there's nothing about... There's nothing about my gender. So this is also indicating that you have a fluid gender, I guess, is the way to say that. This is the way that I'm receiving that part of this back and forth is a weaving of masculine, feminine. There's a flowing between. The king is balanced by the queen. We have both the masculine and feminine bears here. The masculine guards the underworlds. The feminine guards the upper world. And the seers, both with their eyes closed, standing over water. It's like being near water teaches you. That's where your wisdom is. Okay, so let's pull back and let's come back into the spirit of the fox and how this informs your wits, your intellect. Be aware of what you yield in your wit, of the depth. And you may be called upon in many crises and catastrophes. And this trickster energy, this go-between energy that you have with everything, really, is the tool that you have been developing that is going to help you navigate these things, that's going to help you by reflecting your process, or by being reflective to someone else. They're going to be able to travel back and forth sort of in your image. It's like a vacant vessel that can move between. Almost like you're like it's like you're a ship that ferries them to the other side. Like within you, they travel over and they travel back. Like they can borrow your feet. It's very interesting. All right, let's get you some, what are these called? Forest Fae cards. See if there are any additional messages from Fox. The silent one. It says, watch the drifting shadows and be a caretaker of silence. Honey Mother. Sometimes the greatest magic lies in the smallest of forms. This is talking about deeds and gestures. And there's something about prayers in moonlight here. Prayers in moonlight. We have origins. Remember your roots. This is the masculine connection there to the underworlds, the origins, the roots, the ancestral realm, which is one of the places that you are able to travel to. Let go. Enjoy the pulsing light of the firefly and don't hold on too tight. There are things you cannot carry on your back as you go. And this will become apparent because of this transition that you made, this choice that you made, that alignment choice you made. It sets off a string of events that show you the things that you cannot hold on to as you go. So this is a process that will unfold very naturally, I feel, for you, and you are protected in this. And finally, music. There is a melody to be heard in the deepest parts of the woods if only we listen. You sing a clear note. This is the last message that I have for you. Pile number 1, I hope that this reading was helpful for you, or at the very least interesting. I'd like to thank you for joining me here. If you'd like to book a personal reading, my information is in the description box below. And take care. Pile number 2, welcome to your reading. You chose the fox with shadow work. There are no shadows without light. I'm hearing blending elements, blending light, blending backgrounds. Just give me a moment to channel some messages for you. I have had no greater victory than my birth. Okay, there's some aspect of your existence that defies gravity or defies life in some way. This could have been, maybe you had a difficult birth in some way, like there was difficulty with your mother, or there was difficulty with you, like health issues that you overcame, small birth weight, that kind of thing. And so your life itself is in some way a sort of miracle. But what has happened is that it has created this situation where you are constantly blending two sides of everything. You're constantly navigating a paradox, like you're wedged in between life and death. And this can create a couple of different things. It can create tunnel vision to protect yourself. So you stay in that place between and you don't leave. Like you try not to go one way or the other. So you don't go all in on life, but you don't go all in on death. And so you're kind of in this tunnel. But then there's the, if you do stray to one side, the calling of the other. So it's almost like if you go too far into life, there will be an equal response from the realm of the subconscious or from the realm of death. So for instance, if you find intense happiness in life, your nightmares may intensify. Or and to a darker extent, there may be some suicidal ideation in my pile number 2s. And I really do encourage you to reach out to someone if that is the case. I recently had an experience where someone very close to me committed suicide, and on the other side, it seems like the problems that are insurmountable are a lot easier than you think. A lot easier than we think when we get into those spaces. And that's not for everyone who's chosen this pile, but it is for some of you, and I want you to know that my heart is with you. And so when this unfolds, it can create a situation where you're almost afraid of happiness because of the equivalent seeming response from the other side. Life and death are always calling to you, and in this case I'm considering death to be the subconscious or the other world even. So you may be called into more magical or delusional illusion kind of spaces. That was the word I was looking for. Illusion type spaces. And there's this, like I said, you either walk the tunnel or you feel out of control if you're going from side to side. But let's take a look at the guidance from the tarot. We're using the Wildwood Tarot today. Okay, yes. Wolf. Okay, so we have a wolf may be your guide or maybe an animal to look to as well as fox. So the overall energy and guidance is from fox, but we have the presence of wolf here as well. And the difference being that a wolf is very much a pack animal. And there's this, what I'm getting is that you have a network of others. This sensitivity and this line that you walk between worlds is enhanced by as you start to understand that you are connected in this web psychically to a very, very powerful soul family. And if you stay too long in the tunnel, this is where in that space between, you're not able to connect with this network. It's a different way of navigating outside of the tunnel. It's walking the space, but outside of like a narrow constraint. I can see it. I'm trying to develop it and explain it. So there's definitely a calling here to find stability, but there could be a tendency towards rigidity. The Six of Stones, exploitation. Okay. So there's definitely some difficulties here that of unequal giving and receiving. And I think that this, what I'm getting from this is that there is this dynamic in your life where you know to some extent, you know because you are highly connected to the other worlds, that this pack exists. You know that you can have these deep psychic connections, but you can also deeply connect with other people. And so you have mistaken certain people for members of that soul family, that network, that pack. And what's happened is that those people have depleted you because they weren't meant to be that close, or they weren't meant to tap into that aspect of yourself. And so then when you put the boundary up, you put up a hard boundary. Capricorn. You put up, Aquarius, you put up a hard, I guess it's Saturn is what I'm describing. You put up a hard, rigid boundary, but then that ends up blocking you from the people who are meant to be part of and connected to you. But there's a generosity and a community and a bountiful and plentiful situation for you out there. This exists. But as you're working toward it and as you're finding it, you're finding like almost false communities, which is not to say that the people are bad people. They just aren't the right people to be connecting with in that way. Wow, the Knight of Vessels. Okay. Yeah. And this is to me an indication that particularly in romantic relationships, there have been slippery situations where people slide in past those boundaries. So when you are, even when you are, protecting yourself, there's still okay. So if someone is cold and alone, you feel the need. You feel compelled to respond, and you want to pull them into this space of connection because you know this connection exists, even if you haven't fully experienced it yet. Even if you haven't found those people, you know this connection exists. So you'll try and create it with people who are... You're a sucker for the underdog. There's exploitation and disrespect. Boundaries, 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 boundaries. And injuring yourself for the care of others, sacrificing yourself for the care of others. Because you know this exists, and you know that these boundaries within your pack do not exist, because there's like a psychic connection here. Like, this is the connection that you have with your soul family is like, it's like you can all you all have access to each other's minds. You all have access to each other's kind of motivations and things like that, and there's this safety to that. But I feel like you can't understand why you can't have that with other people, and it creates this this injury. Draining your resources. You have the Ten of Vessels at the center of your reading. You are capable of great happiness. And we know this because of your ability to go so far into life and live your life in such a big and beautiful way. But for every time your cup runneth over and you are completely fulfilled, there is an opposite reaction on the other side. But ultimately, you are capable of true happiness, true fulfillment. And it's because of your understanding of both the shadow and the light. So let's take a look at this side. Okay. The Fool, or sorry, the Wanderer. The Wanderer is stepping off of this cliff onto a rainbow. And we know that a rainbow cannot hold a human body. But this is a gesture of trust. And on the other side is a wild wood. And this is the realm of mystical experience and the realm of the other world. And this to me just speaks of your ability to walk between these worlds. And to cultivate happiness, to be able to come over into this happiness and then also into the shadow and balance the two without it being overwhelming or detrimental to your health and mental health and well-being. I'm going to get another card and then channel some messages. So much earth and water in this reading. So if you are earth and water dominant in your chart, definitely a lot of feminine energy as well with even though the figures in these cards are very masculine, there's a lot of feminine energy here. So, but again, like with the fox is a trickster energy, which is something I didn't say in the intro, but meaning it goes between worlds. It easily transitions between worlds, and that's what makes it such a magical figure, because there's this like movement between the two. The fox brings things out of that magical other world into our world and then takes things back so that they can be worked on and move through in the other world and come back as something new into our world. So it's this constantly traveling between the two. But we have a lot of water. We have the Knight and the Page of Vessels here. And this is it's like if you can learn to speak about your emotions, if you can learn how to communicate your emotions, that is all you need to give to these other people, the people that aren't part of your soul family. So if you're wondering what your responsibility is to them or what you can do for those people without harming yourself or without digging into your own personal resources or without sharing too much or having to like navigate a really tricky boundary situation, it's to teach yourself how to speak your emotions, how to communicate not just your emotions, but emotions in general. This is going to be a tool that will help not only yourself, but others, and will help with this not staying in that rigid tube in between, but being free to dip into life and death at will and to travel between those spaces without it being detrimental to your mental health. There was once a barren wasteland that stood between you and your dreams. I feel it so far away. It's a dissociation, like things receded so far away from you. And sometimes you neither feel like you belong to life or death, to the waking world or the dreams. That you're sort of tossed around in this space in between. And so Fox is speaking of this opportunity to harness this power that you have, and rather than being lost in it, or like I'm seeing something just kind of being caught up in like a whirlpool, it's being able to come in and out of that whirlpool at will. Yeah, because there's something about the spinning that is part of your power. There's something about the spinning that is part of, like, it's almost the energy that's needed to build your power and to use your power. But if you get caught up in it, you're no good to anybody. Like, you can't use it, you know? Yeah. And there's something about cauterizing your wounds. Cauterizing your wounds so you can heal them, sealing things with fire, which is interesting because we have so much water and earth, but cauterizing your wounds with fire. I'm going to pull some oracle cards for you just to get some additional messages. All right, you have Mandrake Spirit. And it says, keep yourself rooted in the earth. Spring is coming. Dream deep. This speaks to so many different themes in this reading in such a mystical way, and I feel like I really want to, rather than explicitly explaining them all to you, I feel that they need to stay that way to an extent. But I will point out that dreaming is an important part of your magical gifts and abilities, and of what helps you to it's a key part of your traveling in between. It's one of your key tools, dreaming. And then we have the Autumn Fae, the space between. Go slowly and listen closely for the words of the tree spirit. And the words. So there's something about the trees that can teach you the words in the language of your heart. This could very literally be you going and talking to the trees about your emotions and practicing with trees before people. I think that you feel and have felt your entire life very deeply, and so it's not that you don't know these feelings, it's just a way of communicating them that is going to be so, so helpful, not only for yourself, but for others. And that is the space of maintaining like sanity and balance. And we have the card Caution. Tread softly so as not to disturb the woodland floor. And this came up in the last pile, but for you, I feel that this is how you almost have to treat yourself as a sacred ground. Because you are the space where these worlds meet, you are that sacred ground. You're also like a tree in that way. I mean, we all are, but it's enhanced in you. It's extra in you. Whoa, this came up in the last pile too. If you chose pile 1 and pile 2, that would make sense to me. I do feel like there's some of you where these messages are connected. So it says origins, remember your roots. Again with the roots, again with the trees. I don't want to be explicit. I do feel like these messages are unpacking themselves for you specifically. I'll get one more. Friends. Yes, this ties into that soul family. And it says the most unlikely friendships can form like variegated lichens on hard rock. They create a tight bond. Yes. So I do have a soul family reading on my channel if you want to find that. There may be some messages for you there as well. But just know that you are part of a tight-knit soul family. A really powerful, tight-knit soul family. And these gifts and abilities are unique in that soul family. So where some of them may relate to you, you are specifically your own thing in that group. Like, yeah, some of the symbols and things in here, or animals, the mandrake, that it's significant, it's important. Okay. Also, I want to say that you have such a big, big heart, and you are such a sweetheart, and I want you to know that I see you, and I see how sweet you are. And I'll leave you there. So thank you so much for joining me today. Take care. Pile number 3, you chose the Celtic fox. And just give me a moment to tune in. Okay, so you have a lot of energy. You're kind of blasting out in all directions. You're sort of of the fox, you are the most playful of the energies. And this is kind of something that maybe people may feel your big energy, but they may not see it. This could be something that you keep very private, or just with your close family and friends. So you may seem kind of mysterious and elusive to people who don't really know you, but the people that do know you and are in your inner circle really get to see that like playful sense of humor aspect of yourself. I feel like you've always got a plan, you've always got something on the go, so things are always changing and shifting in your world. And you're actually very lucky and fortunate, whether you feel that way or not, at what you've managed to pull off in your life and what you've managed to achieve. I feel like you have a lot of stories. I feel that you could be a very good storyteller. For some of you, this is like, particularly the more masculine in this group, you may be like, people be like smarty pants. That's the PG version. But you have a bit of a naughty sense of humor in a way, like not naughty like perverted, but like cheeky. Yeah. So what can we know? What does Fox want to tell you? So the last couple of piles have really been talking about magical gifts and abilities. So let's see what we have for you, because you're very different energy from the first two piles. All right, so we have the 10 of Arrows, instruction. Apprentice. Okay, so you have a very specific task that you are charged to do. And there is someone, there's a mentor, there's a teacher, there is someone who will, or has been specifically put on your path. Again, timelines are going to shift here. So some of you will have already entered into these energies, and some of you will be entering into these energies. So for you, I feel that there is a teacher, a guide, someone who has already kind of traversed that path that will lead you. And I feel like until that person comes along, you will seem like a lost cause, that people won't really know how to take you or what your purpose is for, but they'll kind of just feel like there is one. Like people just kind of know you've got something special going on, but not really know what that is. There's something about you that people can't put their finger on. There we go, Sun. So you have a really powerful leadership quality and a really powerful warmth and ability to inspire and influence the people around you. So this could be mischievous, or it could just be simply be very creative and I just feel like you are meant to connect with a lot of people in your life. So maybe influence a lot of people, lead people, or guide or teach people. But specifically, you learn in this one-on-one situation from someone. This could be a grandparent or someone significantly, or just someone older than you who, it may not be that they train you in your specific skill or what you go on to create or lead, but it is something that develops those skills for you or helps you to develop those skills. The Sun of Life. People want to be around you or want to orbit you, and they're not entirely sure why. Again, there's that like enigmatic quality to you where there's these layers that some people know you in a certain way and other people know you in another way. Seven of Stones, healing. All right, this message is coming in about something about you dip into stagnation when you are not caring for, nurturing, or teaching others. So it's very and vitally important that you continuously nurture, care for, teach others. When you are within that circle, when you are within that space, you are at your best. And when you're doing this, you are at the same time maintaining this Sun energy. And when you leave that space, the light dims. And it can become destructive toward you or others. So it's important that you stay in that leadership role even. So for instance, if you decide to take a back seat, and I think sometimes people mistake that for like that this is fully just to feed an ego, that someone needs to be a leader or because of control. But in your case, it's actually that you are not as effective when you are not in that role, that it dims your light. And you are most inspired and brightest when you are responsible for other people. When you're only responsible for yourself, you have a tendency to go from the healer to the wounded, and you become quite heavy, actually. It's like all of the pain of your life sort of collapses in on you when you step out of this place where you're able to shine bright. And the Two of Vessels. So you have a co-creator in this life. There is a divine relationship that is so essential as well to the creation of this light. And you see here that this is the burning heart of the three of arrows in this deck, which is like the heartbreak jealousy card. And so between them, they have understood, or they can allow this heartbreak to exist, and they are joined by the hands, but they are two separate beings pouring into two separate cups. So this is a relationship where there is a lot of, it's a fated, important relationship, but there's a lot of space, and there's an individuality to each of you, and an embodying of two halves of a sacred fire, but each half is individual in itself. So this partnership, sorry, I keep pausing. There's been street cleaners and fireworks, so we'll get through this. This partner, whether you identify as the divine masculine or the divine feminine, I do feel like I'm speaking to a masculine, and I know I have a lot of like sort of an equal number on my channel, which is kind of unique, and I really love that. So hello to everyone. So this partner is someone who will really help you to step into this energy. So it might be that it's not that they ignite it in you necessarily. It's that once you are in this energy, you will be able to be in union with them. But they do also inspire it. So it's hard to tell where they come in on a timeline or anything like that, but I do see that they are incredibly important, and that there could be like almost a co-hosting, co-teaching kind of vibe to your relationship. And back to center, we have the Ace of Stones. The foundation of life. I'm also feeling for you that there is a key thing that you create. There's something, either you invent it or you co-create a child, that is tremendously important to generations to come, but you are a key ancestor to your descendants. You're a key ancestor to your descendants, and you are a place from which it's like people depart and have new beginnings. There's a lot of joy to be had in collaboration. This is reinforcing what I was saying before about it being necessary for you to have that. And I'm seeing for you that 3 is a very significant number in some way. So whether it's you, your partner, and a child, if it's you and 2 siblings, if it's 3 friends, this is significant. And a significant part of what helps you from collapsing into this heavy energy. I feel like there's a lot of guiding energy over here. Like you have a shaman character, you have a teacher, you have friends. Yours is a very social, beware of feeling ashamed of interdependence. It's okay. It's necessary for your situation. And then the 8 of Arrows. You have a lot of luck. I think I said that at the beginning, didn't I? All of the arrows have missed this woman. Like, as she trudges through the snow. I always look at this card as very melodramatic. Like, I like to imagine her feeling really sorry for herself and then laugh about it, because that is kind of the only way to lift yourself out of this self-pitying energy, is to throw yourself a pity party and laugh about it. So beware of those pitfalls. I do feel like your community is really important. Don't establish yourself on the basis of something small. If something is small, think bigger. If a feeling is small, seek more. Honor your capacity and magnitude. You are not small. You are immense. And this person, this partner, will be immense as well. And whatever you do, whatever you are building is immense here at the center. Let me see if there are any other channeled messages for you. Okay, so there's actually a past life coming in, something about a covered wagon and pioneering efforts, and there being this traversing adversity and being almost like the covered wagon. You're like the lantern. Oh, there's a lantern here. My eyes were closed. But there's a lantern here. You're like a lantern in the dark for people. But no one can touch the sun, and that's why you've been given a divine partner. Only this divine partner can touch that level of sun, or can be that close to the sun without getting burnt. So you'll be able to shine your brightest light when you are with them, because you will have that companion. You'll be able to embrace your immensity. Pull some additional oracle cards, get some more messages for you. Whoa, so many flew out. Let's see what we'll take. Okay, we have this beautiful card, Forest Sister. The moon shines brightest after the storm. This is your counterpart. Okay, so if you are the sun, this person is the moon. I also had a reading recently, I don't know which one, where there was the sun and the moon. I think it was a general love reading, so you may want to go and check that out. The moon shines brightest after the storm. So there's a turbulent period, and this person will come in after that time period. Probably once you've learned to laugh at yourself and learn to traverse this struggle in your own your belief that you are not enough. It's like if you can come into that feeling of worth, this moon will come in and reflect back your light, and then you will see your beauty. What else do we have for you? Sunny pile number 3. The witch hare. Cross the threshold, leap the hedge, go over the wall. Yeah, this is about not being small, not staying small. It's like whatever you think the boundaries are of your possibility, think bigger. And that doesn't necessarily mean money, or it's like your influence, your ability to influence the hearts of people around you. Hearts and minds I'm hearing, but hearts especially with this sun energy, and for people to want to orbit you. So when you see an obstacle in front of you, once you've moved through this self-limiting energy, you're creating something for future generations that is so much bigger than what you can think or know right now. We have the card Let Go. So it says, enjoy the pulsing light of the firefly, but don't hold on too tight. This is about not owning this power that you have. So staying out of the trap of feeling that it's ego. It's like this light works through you. It is you, but it's not because of conscious choices you're making necessarily. It's more like when you step out of the way, there it is. Uncertainty. The shades of gray within the fog will eventually lift. Yeah, and then you'll see your own light reflected back to you. So maybe this person is already in your life, this counterpart, but you just haven't seen them in this way or in this light. And so as you start to move through these kinds of lessons and step into that understanding of yourself as nurturer, leader, teacher, you will begin to see that reflected light back at you, and you won't be able to look away. This is what I'm hearing. Opportunities, so many opportunities for you in this life. It's insane. Unfurl, I'm getting kind of dizzy. Unfurl like a fern even without warm sunlight. Yeah, and so when you can't even see this, when you aren't even able to see your own light, you are still called to unfold. So even if you don't see your potential, keep moving through it, keep learning, keep seeking, keep finding and speaking to people and taking on responsibilities, or just guiding roles. And it'll show itself to you. And so that's your messages from Fox. I hope that you enjoyed. Please leave a comment down below if you'd like. Let me know how this related to your own situation in your own life. If you'd like to book a personal reading, my information is in the description box below. Take care.